Welcome to our final session on the Confessions. My name is Chad Englund from the University of Dallas. In the last session, we ended with the third of Augustine's conversions. It came when he was in the garden and he picked up St. Paul's epistles and he read that famous passage, "Make no provision for the flesh." And in doing so, Augustine experienced a profound outflowing of grace and completely reformed his life. We saw that conversion actually happened on the heels of two other earlier conversions, one by reading the Platonists, in which he had been told to turn within and above to find God there, and then earlier by reading Cicero's Hortensius, in which he'd been told that his happiness is going to be found not in worldly success, but instead feasting on wisdom. And those earlier conversions then prepare for this final conversion. Now, I want to talk a little bit more about this last conversion moment. Now, it takes place in the garden, and it says that there's a voice. He hears a voice of some children playing a game, and he hears these words, "Tolle lege," or "Tolle lege," take and read, take and read. And that's what inspires him to pick up the epistles of St. Paul. And that's what is the crucial moment of his conversion. Now, I would like to suggest to you that Augustine is that child's voice. He's the one that's telling us to take and read, take and read. And he wants us to read his text. He wants us to read the confessions. And the confessions themselves are the 3 in 1, right? What is included here? Well, we have in the first place Cicero's Hortensius, right? Or I've authored my attempt to be a kind of Hortensius, the way of philosophy, that's going to provoke us to the quest, to the search for wisdom. And then you have the writing of the Platonists that will show us where we can find God and who it is we're talking to. We turn within and above to the ground or cause of our being. And then you find the sacred scriptures written by or addressed by God to the human soul. And there we discover the source of grace, but also something new. And it's to talk about that something new that I'd like to spend the last bit of time that we have together. What is this something new? Well, it's the very space that Augustine wants to take us to in the Confessions. It's the very space that opens by saying, "Great are you, O Lord, and exceedingly worthy of praise." It is a space of dialogue of a soul and its source, a creature with the author of its own being. And where does it take place? It takes place within the silence of the soul. Right? Where is this conversation taking place? It's taking place within Augustine as he addresses the God that's the cause of his own being, that's higher than him. Well, how can we hear what's happening? Well, Augustine's allowing us to eavesdrop on this conversation that he has found as a result of these 3 books, these 3 moments of conversion. They gave him access to this conversation. And powerfully, so very powerfully, Augustine is allowing us to eavesdrop on that conversation. Why? Because he knows that if we eavesdrop on that conversation, we're going to be brought into that conversation. Like the infant that eavesdrop on conversations and learns his or her mother tongue, so we are that spiritual infants that are going to discover this new divine language that is our birthright, right? But we have to arrive at it by eavesdropping on Augustine's conversation. What is so powerful about the Confessions? You pick up all this philosophy, you pick up all this understanding of human nature and of God, but also how to pray. And it's not a how-to manual, right? Instead, he puts everything on display, just like, as I likened it in the first episode, a how-to YouTube video. So you watch it, and then all of a sudden you say, ah, I know how to do it. I can do it myself. Augustine's saying the same thing here. Look, you now know how to do it. Do it, right? And he explicitly says this, doesn't he, in Book 10. How does he put it? He says, what is the point? What point is there for me and other people hearing my confessions? Are they likely to hear my infirmities? So why is he having us eavesdrop? Not so that we can help them. Right? Instead, what? Then he says this about us as readers. Not very kind, is he? A curious lot they are, eager to pry into the lives of others, but tardy, slow when it comes to correcting. Oh, oof. Augustine is challenging us here, isn't he? What is he challenging us to do? Not to be moved by curiosity, not to remain focused on what's external, but instead to do what? Why should they seek to hear from me what I am when they are reluctant to hear from you what they are? Whew. Why should they seek to hear from me what I am when they are reluctant to hear from you what they are? This is what Augustine is enjoining us to do. Recapitulate, retrace the path of the three books, of the three conversions. Provoke ye your appetite for eternal food. Turn ye within and above. Find their address through the mediation of sacred scripture, the church, and her sacraments. Find there the address of the source of your existence to you yourself, and occupy that space of dialogue between the source, between your own soul and the source of your being. And that's the place in which you're going to make sense of your life. And that's the place where everything's going to click into place, where your life is going to make sense. And you're going to find your life profoundly worth living. I'd like to end by considering a very beautiful passage that recapitulates Augustine's Confessions as a whole. It comes in Book 10. It begins, late have I loved you, beauty so ancient and so new. Late have I loved you. Lo, you were within, but I outside, seeking there for you, and upon the shapely things you made, I rushed headlong, I misshapen. So God's within us, he's above us, and we're looking for him in the wrong places. We're looking for him among beautiful bodies. And therefore, or thereby, we're testifying to the misshapenness of our own soul, the immoderate character of our own soul. You were within me that whole time, but I was not with you. They, your creatures, or in my disordered relation to them, held me back far from you. Those things which would have no being, were they not in you? Augustine's telling us again and again. Who's this God we're talking to? It's the God who causes all things to be. The God who even now sustains all things in existence. The God who is most intimately present to me right now as the ground of my continual existence. So, thank you all for indulging me in this wonderful time of talking to you about the Confessions. I understand I'll have an opportunity to interact with some of you, at least a limited window, through the comment section. So I very much welcome that. Thank you all, and God bless.